And, of course, live on the KUAM News Facebook page. Always a lot of info coming out on the show at 9 o'clock. We're going to go SBA with Ken Lujan to kind of sort through the application process.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going to get the Guam Banking Association to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program. It's 8:01 now, and want to bring Vice Speaker Telena Nelson onto the show. Good morning, Vice.
Hi, good morning,
Good
Chris.
morning.
Good morning, Ree.
Good morning.
That was an interesting song you played.
Yeah, that's my buddy Duome. It's basically, he wrote it for his daughter, and he was saying that, hey, when you grow up and you start dating guys, just know that all the guys are scumbags, and you still got your dad. I mean, you know.
That's a good note.
Yeah, it's a Cliff's Note version.
Is that going out to anybody in particular?
Well, he wrote it for his daughter.
No.
Yeah, I got you.
You got
No
me.
comment.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Go
No, thank you
ahead.
for having me on the line. I just wanted to advocate for our nurses at this time.
Mhm.
I spoke with several of them the other day, and really it's a struggle for them. And so I wrote a letter to the governor asking her to provide lodging accommodations for them so that they are able to perform their job and also rest with peace in mind that they're not bringing the possibility of the coronavirus back home to their families and their young children. And, these nurses are exposed 12 hours a day or more to the virus. And it's just, we want to make sure that they're taken care of in this battlefield that they are responding to in our front lines, and also to have an equity of pay for our nurses. Some nurses that are employed full-time at GMH are receiving benefits that other nurses who are being tasked or detailed to other hospitals and other locations responding to the virus are not getting an equitable amount of pay.
Mm-hmm.
And so really, I just want to advocate for them and thank them for the hard work that they are doing. When we go to war, all of our morale and welfare is taken care of. Our lodging is taken care of. Our meals are taken care of. Our pay is always right. So we don't have to worry about those things. We could focus on the mission. And I'm imploring that the governor will allow this same recompense for these nurses, because we want them to focus on the mission without having to worry about all the other things that come with just having a family and outside of their job, the difficulties that they would have to face. And so really, I'd like to thank the nurses for the hard work that they're doing, going in every day. And I know it's exhausting. I mean, I talked to some of them, and they're very God-fearing people. They do their work keeping God in mind. It's a very giving of yourself kind of job, and I want to thank them for the work that they're doing. And hopefully we can see something fast, maybe today or tomorrow, where they're given accommodations and there's that equity and pay for them as
Right.
they respond to this, to the virus, to this invisible enemy that we are all facing today.
Vice Speaker, have you had any response from the governor, about your letter?
I haven't seen anything yet. I know she's busy with a lot of things, but there are the directors and the superintendents that can work out these issues for the governor. I mean, that's the purpose of the cabinet, and that's the purpose of having a chief of staff. And so, really, these small things, while the governor looks at the big picture, these small things, the chief of staff can enact. Of course, with discussion with the governor to see this come into realization. And so I hope that they would act on it soon. These people are working every day. They don't have any breaks. One of them told me they go to sleep crying, because that's the only way that they can deal with the stress and the impacts of the family, of them having to come home and bring it home. And so just so that they don't have to worry about these things, they know that they're being taken care of. The people of Guam see the hard work you are doing. The community is behind you on this. This is something we need to do and do yesterday to put their mind at ease so that they can perform 110% at their job.
Vice, logistically, how would this work? Would this be something? And I'm just thinking because I haven't seen the plan. Maybe with hotels. I mean, we seem
Right.
we're housing sailors in hotels. We're housing travelers in hotels. Is
And
that?
I think
is that
it's
what you
something that's happening in Hawaii. They have a
Right.
hospital for heroes.
Right.
Right. So there's other.
I'm not a hospital.
jurisdictions-
Hotels for heroes.
Yes, so there's other jurisdictions that where the doctors and nurses are being accommodated in the hotels, and so I asked, and we had a conference call with some of the with Homeland Security, with Department of Labor and DRT, and some of the issues that we discussed about was the relief fund, different types of relief funding that we're getting from the federal government, and so we won't see that money for weeks. Some of DOL doesn't even see a baseline on coming from the federal government, any guidelines on how we're going to address this unemployment and so forth. So a lot of these things. But in Homeland Security, I asked Chuck if, a very pointed question, will the governor get reimbursed from FEMA for the hotel quarantines and all these, the items that we're doing to mitigate in response to the COVID? And Chuck said yes. So, these are the things that we can put forward, the people's money to accommodate these nurses, and can be reimbursed by FEMA, because this is how the process takes place. And so really, I know it's a difficult time for our government, but we need to start investing back into the people at this time, the money that they paid in their taxes for us to respond more quickly to their needs.
Vice, have you been in contact with the administration? Because I got a message here on the WhatsApp that they already have a hotel or a condo for GMH and SNU nurses and doctors that stay after work. Are you looking at expanding this, or what's the deal?
Right. So apparently not everyone is getting it. If that's the case, I did not get any response of them saying that they had these accommodations in place. But perhaps maybe they already do, but not everyone is being offered the same lodging and the same equity in pay.
So that's what you're hearing, and from people who
right.
don't.
These are from our nurses.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they need to offer it for everyone, if they've only offered it to some.
I want to ask you about the pay thing of Vice, because I think it was Superintendent John Fernandez at kind of the beginning of this. He had said, and God, I wish I could track this down, but something about people working in the government during a public health emergency or something, that they're supposed to get like double pay.
Right. So in the rules and regulations for Department of Administration, there is compensatory hours that you'll receive, or double time pay when you respond to a declared emergency such as this. And so this is something that I was advocating for too. Many people are not receiving this double time of pay. And I asked if this is also a reimbursement, can they be reimbursed by FEMA for this double time of pay in response to the COVID-19? And the answer was yes, FEMA would reimburse for the double time in pay. And I did ask that perhaps maybe compensatory time, if we don't have the money, because maybe we're stretched right now and we don't see any revenue really coming in, and a lot of the taxes are being deferred. So for some employees, compensatory time really doesn't do them any justice, because either they're part-time employees or they're just, it's just a struggle for them to be able to utilize those hours once the COVID response ends. And so really, if we can get reimbursed by FEMA for this, and we can pay our those that are responding, we can pay them double time, then let's give them the money that is due. They're working for us 24 hours a day. They're sacrificing the well-being of their families when they go back home. I think this is very small justice that we could give them, and really for the work that they're doing to keep us safe. you can't really put a price on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the governor put a price on it, and that she had said that they're getting 25%. Right?
Yeah, it's 25%, and then it depends on your level of exposure. But she only said that it was in effect immediately, so she wants it to be applied retroactively.
Right, and so Senator Shilton and I submitted a bill on hazardous pay, and so we are looking to amend that just so that the governor can do the hazardous pay. But this is different. This double time is a different, another entity where it's in the rules and regulations for a declared emergency. Hazardous pay is when you are face to face with the extreme danger, right? So our nurses, our doctors, our frontliners, our first responders, they should get hazardous pay. The firefighters, they don't get hazardous pay, so they should get hazardous pay. I know we can't afford to pay them hazardous pay for a whole year because they make so much money because of their schedule, which is fine. But they need to get. It would be just to give them hazardous pay during this time.
Vice, can I ask what session are you planning to introduce these bills in?
Hopefully, when the speaker calls session, hopefully soon. These are the bills that I'd like to see come to fruition. These are the bills to include the unemployment bill. I know that there's been some back and forth about whether the administration is asking us to hold off and wait on federal programs, but we've waited since March 15th, since I've asked to come into session to this day, and thousands of people are now unemployed. Thousands of people have furloughed hours, and really they don't know what to do. I mean, to see someone cry over how they're, to see someone hurting and just in a crisis about the impact of the financial strain, it really hurts because not many people are as fortunate as government employees to continue to have a paycheck as we're teleworking and all these things. And I feel that this is just not equitable, that, us in the government are getting our full paychecks and we're getting paid. Everyone's getting paid. We're teleworking. We're still performing our job. But we see in our private industry, a lot of the people who is a majority of the population who pay their taxes are suffering from this now, and we're not responding quickly enough to get them some kind of compensation for the impact of this virus, and we know the money's coming, so there's no reason why we should be reluctant to move forward and give them something so that they can be able to not even to live. We're not even asking this is just necessities that this is going to be provided for them. It's not an extreme luxury for them. They're not going to be going on Amazon and ordering some things online and stuff like that. These people just need the necessities to be able to survive, which is just food, water, and the utilities that they need to pay just to survive, and gas. I mean, it's a small ask.
Right. Yeah, and I don't understand why there's only a handful of senators who are talking about this. And
yeah, what are we going to do? I mean, the governor on Sunday, she said she needed legal authority to implement a curfew law, travel restrictions, all of this. Nowhere in there did I hear when she spoke, we need to get assistance for these. Right now, it's 15,000 people that are unemployed.
When you ask about it,
hours are reduced.
They get mad. It's weird. It's like we're just asking for
all
these
it is
people.
Is go apply for food stamps, call public health, or go online.
Honestly, that's weak. It's weak. I mean, I'm so disappointed in the speaker. Vice Speaker, I just don't understand it. This whole,
we're moving bodies out of the morgue right now.
That's where we're at, and there's that going on, and then there's that people are being told, stay home for another month. We got no clue. David De La Sola talking about pandemic unemployment. He can't even provide a timeline
because the federal government isn't communicating with him.
And so with this stimulus and the $1,200 payments, I mean, at least 3 weeks, but probably longer.
Right, and so we should do this now. We should have done this back in March 15th so that we could avoid all the complications of now us having to come into a consensus on how we're going to have session. We should have done this. We should have done this in March 15th. We should have done this right when the declaration was declared so that our people know that they're taken care of. Our governor knows that some money needs to be set aside to assist these people. And now everything is just unraveling, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to meet the needs. And now we have to start all the way back from square one in the middle of the crisis,
Right.
when we should be focusing on getting better, staying home, and all these mitigations. But now it's just even more difficult because everything is just imploded on us. And so we need to act. We needed to act since in March, and now I'm asking that we're trying to come to a consensus where everybody in the legislature feels comfortable coming in. It's difficult for them, for some of them, and I understand it. They have underlying health issues. I have the same thing, but they take care of their elderly, and I don't want to, push them in a way where they're also endangering their parents or their grandparents. And so we just need to come to a consensus quickly that we're going to hold session in this manner and move forward. We've been talking about this for like a week and a half now.
Yeah.
And so I've been pushing, and some of my colleagues have been pushing for a compromise somewhere down the line. It's very difficult to get everyone to agree. And I've put it out there. I said, look, our government employees are out there on the front line, risking their life every day. They go home to their children. They go home to their parents that they care for. I said, we need to be leaders. We need to show them that we will not ask you to do anything that we won't do ourselves. And so we need to lead from the front. We need to start showing the people of Guam that we are here. We're going to lead from the front. And we're not just going to hide behind, our doors and in our comfort. People are suffering. We cannot be living in our comforts right now. And many of my colleagues, they're working really hard. They're working really hard for the people. Even though we can't come into session, I see all of them. They're concerned. We're talking. They're talking to people, trying to mitigate a lot of the issues that, the homeless. Senator Shelton, she's advocating for their foster children. She's advocating for the homeless, and she's seeing the impacts in other countries. And she's working really hard for that. Senator Talahi, she's been trying to get us to have some kind of virtual session. She's working on these evictions. And it's, people are working to try to find some middle ground. And it's just very difficult, and we've been talking today. We're going to talk again this morning. Hopefully we can come to a decision, and we can move forward and just make something happen, because I am not comfortable in this, hands are tied, and we need to pass legislation.
Yeah, but who's tying your hands? I mean, the speaker is tying your hands. I mean, pretty much she's tying your hands, and the governor's giving her the rope.
Well, with all due respect, our speaker, yes, we've battled it out for session 4th, but she's trying also now to come to a compromise, and it's difficult because there's also some pushback on whether we're going into virtual session and all these things. And so, the speaker has said that she wants to come into a physical session where everyone is present, and Senator Lee has presented many plans for us, and the Committee on Rules has presented many plans for us to mitigate the risk. It's just very difficult to get some of my colleagues who, of course, which is understandable, that are concerned about their health and their grandparents and their family. But
can some of them come in?
I mean,
through
you don't think
video
we're concerned? You don't think nurses and doctors out there are concerned about their health? I mean,
right, and you're right, and then that's why I came up on this morning just to advocate for our nurses, because there's no, from my understanding, it's not equitable for them, and so hopefully we can see the accommodations provided. Hopefully they can get word today that they will be paid, an equitable amount of pay. Even our nurses at GRMC, because we can say that GMH is a COVID hospital, but there's nothing, GRMC people are still going to be exposed. Our nurses and doctors at GRMC are still going to be exposed. And so whether they're working at GMH or not, it's arbitrary, because you're working in the hospital. This virus is going to spread. We saw in June that we're going to have thousands of deaths, and so it's not only going to be at GMA. It's going, it's going to spread in our community. The peak is in June, and so we need to also look at our nurses as a whole, not what agency you belong to, whose payroll you're under. This is not the time to cause that kind of division. We need to provide equitable payment for our nurses, and allow them to be able to work in these kind of environments, focusing on the mission and not having to worry about the trivial stuff when they get home. And so,
Vice, what can you tell us about, so I know you guys are debating what type of session to have, but when you go into this emergency session, which we just got word that there might be an announcement about it today, in case you didn't know.
wonderful.
When you go into this emergency session, are you guys going to be able to also hear your bills? Because I think the optics of it is that we're not doing nothing locally. I mean, you guys are trying. Senator Terlai's trying. Senator Sheldon's trying. Senator Moylan's trying. Senator people are trying to get COVID-19 related bills. Their time of day. But is that going to be something that happens, or is it just like we're going to an emergency session to give the governor more power?
I don't agree to going into an emergency session for one thing. The session is 15 people in a hall, and we are going to get the support of our colleagues to move other bills. And if our colleagues don't support the movement of these bills, then the people of Guam will see. Mm-hmm. And if that doesn't apply enough pressure to them that the people of Guam will see, then, our...
well, I think the people of Guam right now are seeing a whole lot of nothing going on.
Right. And so, our 2-year evaluation report comes up, and if we do our job, we keep our job. If we didn't do our job, we don't keep our job. And so really, this is the beauty of democracy, right? People can say, well, we gave you a chance and you didn't act on it, so you got to move on to other things. You're fired. And so really, the people of Guam will see, where is the session heading? Is it only primarily to give the governor powers, or are we thinking about the people? Are we thinking about those suffering? Are we wanting to help those and meet them in their suffering? And if we have no action in that, then the people are free to fire us. And then that's up to them.
Well, there you go. Vice Speaker, can you keep us posted about what's happening with session and, what type of session you guys are going to have?
Yes, I will send you a note.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you to the nurses and all of our first responders and to the people, really, to our police officers trying to keep order, maintain order. Thank you, everyone, for the hard work that you're doing to keep us safe, truly. May God bless you.
Take care.
Thank you, Chris and Sabrina. Take care.
Okay. Vice Speaker Telena Nelson there, 8:23. And that's, I think, the big conversation with the legislature is, whoo, man, I don't envy the speaker because, I mean, she's trying to keep a lid on this for the governor, and you got, every senator who has their idea. And like, Vice said, I look at it as like a marketplace of ideas. You got 15 people, 15 different ideas. I mean, the governor is not going to have all the good ideas. She's just not. There's no way. They need more ideas. They need more people. And so
there's been a lot of bills actually that have been introduced,
right?
Just sitting there,
collecting dust. Don't forget to disinfect your bills that are collecting dust. 8:24. We're going to take a break here. Do some news. It's containing COVID. We'll read some of your Facebook comments coming up. Again, the number 637-0094. Good morning.